It's our turn for a post-free agency mock draft today on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast.
You are Locked On NFL Scouting with the Draft Dudes, your daily podcast for NFL and college football scouting. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's better than this? It's guys being dudes here on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast. We're the Draft Dudes. I'm Joe Marino from Locked On Bills. He's Kyle Crabbs from Locked On Dolphins, and we are your NFL experts here with you daily to talk team building across the league on the Locked On NFL Scouting Podcast with the Draft Dudes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to issue a big thank you, shout out, and welcome to our everydayers. Those of you who never miss a single episode, we appreciate y'all being here very, very much.
Joe, happy National Owners Meeting head coach photo release day to you. It was yesterday, but we're celebrating here on a Monday.
And people are talking about rule changes and all that. The thing you got to break down is the photo that comes out every single year. And Kyle, I've taken the time. I've studied the tape. I have takes. I have opinions. I have thoughts. And
what's your most prominent thought here? I have the photo up right next to me, and I'm admiring Brian Callahan having an existential crisis in the midst of the photo.
Yeah, he's pondering in deep thought about something.
He's not thinking about getting his picture taken.
Not at all. Not at all. How about Nick Sirianni? My guy, you are a Super Bowl winning head coach, and you have got wrinkly clothes on. I mean, you look like a lot of the guys did when I was in high school, going to the cafeteria to eat your lunch, man. Little surprise here by this.
So Andy Reid can do whatever he wants. He's sitting right next to Andy Reid. I am judging the guys in the front row that put their hands on their thighs. There's 4 in a row. And I feel like Andy did it and the rest of them followed suit.
Yeah.
Because it's Andy and then Sirianni and then McDermott and then it's LaFleur. And those 4 guys have hands on thighs. Everybody else has the interlocked.
Yeah, they look way better with the interlock,
front, which I think is a much more gracious way to sit in the front row of a photograph like that.
Harbaugh with the Air Monarchs on. What are we doing? Jim, by the way, the Chargers version.
Of course it's Jim. If you put a line on what head coach was going to show up for this photo in a pair of Air Monties, it was going to be Jim Harbaugh. It was going to be the overwhelming betting favorite.
Rabes don't love the long sleeve button down. We're past that, right? That's not a thing, especially when you're a big dude like that. Long sleeve button downs are not your friends.
Anybody else? Is Callahan he's wearing a golf, like a polo zip, quarter zip, it looks like. But yeah, most everybody else has short sleeves for the Florida spot.
Yeah.
We did Mike Tomlin dirty putting him between Dan Campbell on one side and Kevin O'Connell on the other side. Is just a height discrepancy that exists here that maybe put those guys on the outside.
It's like a crossbar. You can kick field goals there, you know?
And then Sean Payton on the other side of Dan Campbell didn't get much more of a better favor either.
Yeah, peaks and valleys there. Kellen Moore said, "Hey guys, squeeze me in here. I want to be part of this picture." Coming in with the tilted shoulders, arms behind his back.
He got both his shoulders in front of both Cohen and Mike McDonald. He looks like an 8-year-old on picture day with the size of the smile and that big head and just big cheesing in a big, big, big way. I'm
excited to be there.
He's excited to be here for his first one.
Pete Carroll, my guy, we're going like gray on gray. We're going gray on gray.
I don't mind gray on gray.
Oh, I do.
That's a controversial take.
I take exception with the gray on gray.
Who's the most awkward looking person in the photo?
Outside of Brian Callahan?
Outside. And try to make an argument that it's not Kevin Stefanski, who looks like he's sitting in the middle.
Yeah.
The aisle seat on the airplane.
Squished in shoulders.
Yes. Not looking happy to be there. Unlike the contrast of Kellen Moore versus Kevin Stefanski is a monstrous gap.
I think we've highlighted. I thought it was Kellen Moore and Callahan were the two. Like, boy, we just dropped in here. I think Jonathan Gannon there hanging out on the end. Just you can really miss him, especially with his blue shirt against the Dayball blue shirt. And Dable, I mean, is he standing on a phone book? He's not tall enough to be on the back row, like what happened here? Also got to extend a little criticism for McDermott. He tried to look pretty good, but black on navy. Not
is that what it is? Are you sure it's not navy on navy and just two different color navies?
Oh, I think it's black on navy. So it's a black shirt with like dark navy jeans, and then he's got the dunks on, but they're black. And I'm like, buddy, literally any other color would have been better here.
I'll tell you, aesthetically speaking, between the hair and the outfit, low key for his first one, Ben Johnson killed it.
Yeah, I'll say that. I think he looks good. I think McVay obviously looks the best. Bomber jacket, the white kicks.
Of course.
I love the contrast of like the white jacket with the black tee with like the gray slacks with the white shoes. McVay.
Sean knows what he's doing.
His world, we're all living in it.
No, Joe, we're 6 minutes in.
Yeah, we better get going.
Is it time to go?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, so we're doing a mock draft here today on the show, and we're alternating picks in this mock draft. The last time we did it, I had odds and Joe had evens, which means now Joe has odds and I have evens. So without further ado, we'll see if we can get picks 1 through 5. I would expect there's going to be a couple chalky picks here at the beginning, so we might be able to stay on schedule here. But first half of the mock today, second half of the mock tomorrow. We're going to start the week off right with a mock draft here. And guess it's time for the jingle, huh?
It's time.
It's time. And dun, 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 dun. All right, the Draft Dudes March 31st, 2025 NFL mock draft is officially open, and the Tennessee Titans with GM Joe Marino are now officially on the clock.
I feel like the momentum is here for Cam Ward to be the number 1 pick out of Miami. Tennessee needs a quarterback. Year 2 of this regime, sort of, right? They got the new GM now in place, but I think with the remainder of team and what they've done the last 2 years in free agency, they're telling us it's time for the quarterback, and it seems like Cam Ward's the guy.
Cleveland with number 2. Surprising amount of discourse around this pick right here. You seem surprised.
I didn't know what you were going to do, and now I know what you're going to do. So it was different than what I thought you were going to do.
Just put the cell over in this spreadsheet that we're using, and the debate for Cleveland is 2 things: to quarterback or not the quarterback. And if you don't quarterback, I'm surprised that there's more discourse about whether or not you quarterback. And I don't think that Cleveland at this point feels like they're still maybe kicking the tires like Kirk Cousins. Is there any pressure to win in the midst of, what the Watson saga has been? And then they've been up and down where they win games and then they have a losing season and they win games again. And then they have another losing season, and it got really ugly this year. And now it's an aging roster. I'm going Abdul Carter, pass rusher from Penn State, to pair with Myles Garrett. I know there's some school of thought that if you have Myles Garrett and you're not going quarterback, Travis Hunter's a better play. I'm going with making a strength even more, and having potentially a very dominant element of your football team, assuming that the Browns are going to figure out quarterback in some other way.
Yeah, the Browns fan from Takes on Friday is excited. They didn't want the quarterback, so Abdul Carter. I've got the Giants at number 3. I was thinking I was going to have the choice of Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. I'm going with Travis Hunter. There's a piece of me that doesn't think that the Giants regime is allowed to draft a quarterback. I mean, the domino of Cam Ward going, now the thought of him going number 1 to very quickly Russell Wilson being signed tells me ownership with the Giants are saying, boy, we're not entrusting you with the quarterback decision right now in terms of drafting one early. So let's get a playmaker here and Travis Hunter. And I think that's what the Giants need. Like, if they're not going to be the fourth place team in the NFC East this year, they need someone that can make plays. That's Travis Hunter.
I disagree. I do think predictably they will take Shedeur Sanders still at this point. I think there's a short-term and a long-term bridge that they need to fulfill if they're going to keep their jobs. But that's not the world that we're living in here. And now the Patriots are on the clock with probably the 2 players I most would have liked to have drafted for them off the board in the last 2 picks. Thanks a lot, Joe Milton. So the Patriots.
Did you just call me Joe Milton?
No, Joe Milton won that game week 18.
I thought you were thinking me. I was like, wow, I've never been confused as Joe Milton. This is great.
You don't have anywhere near the arm that Joe Milton does.
No, let's be honest.
Not many people do.
Nope.
New England at this stage, it's a question of which offensive lineman. Is it Will Campbell? Is it Armand Membu? Mike Vrabel at the owners' meetings it was complimentary. Will Campbell as a tackle said thinks this could be a good opportunity for us. They do have Morgan Moses short term. I haven't done this pairing much frequently, but I am going to cast a stone and shake things up a little bit. We're going to go Will Campbell at number 4 to the New England Patriots.
All right, we will pick up the pace here on the other side of it. We'll get through picks 5 through 10. Folks, be sure to stick with us. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories and even who's cutting down the nets. Folks, you can pick your favorites. The Final Four is here. I've got my eye on a certain team. I've been riding with Houston, so I'm going to keep riding with them. And you can get in on the action with spreads, totals, and game props. Even if your bracket's busted, plenty of opportunities to get in on this tournament action. You could stay in the action. There's games happening almost every single day. So there's always something exciting to bet on. Plus, it's easy and fast. The FanDuel app makes it simple to use. And when I win, I get paid instantly. There is no waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long.
What's your morning routine like?
I wake up at 4.
You do the bowl with the ice?
No, I'm not a bowl of ice guy.
The face in it?
No, I'm a get downstairs, get the dogs outside, get dressed, get to the gym, and then we work out. We go to the sauna, we get home, we get to work.
Great. All right.
Yeah. No bowl in the ice guy. You do that?
No, I did not do that.
Yeah.
What's going on here with these picks at 5 and 6?
Kyle, that's a great question, but is that this? You know what,
Joe?
Yeah. Why don't and we'll swap this one to Kyle, and we're good. Okay, I'm up with the Jacksonville Jaguars. Interesting scenario here. I think they would be most helped by adding to their defensive line, particularly on the interior, where I think that, I'm not really big on Mason Smith, and that was a bulky pick, a high second-round pick, or it was a day 2 pick somewhere on day 2. I think they need that type of presence in another form, and we're going to go with Mason Graham out of Michigan to be our dude in the middle to pair with those dynamic edge rushers.
All right, so the Raiders are on the clock at number 6. And I was mentally prepared for this to be Ashton Jeanty. But Armand Membu's on the board here. And I know DJ Glaze was a 3rd-round pick last year.
Don't care.
I don't care. I don't. And if you mean to tell me I have the opportunity to add to an offensive line that has Powers Johnson in the middle, it's got Dylan Parham, it's got Colton Miller, Meredith looks like a promising young player for them. Regardless of what DJ Glaze ends up becoming, I have a chance to add Armand Membu there and then potentially come back and draft somebody else on day 2 at running back. That's too good of an opportunity for me to pass up, especially when you consider what Geno Smith's used to playing behind from an offensive line standpoint and give him the polar opposite of that in Las Vegas. Give me Armand Membu at 6 to the Raiders.
All right, I got the Jets here at number 7. And
I'm really interested to see what you do with this pick.
Yeah, me too. So there's some things you don't really expect, right? Which is an opportunity to get Shedeur Sanders as the quarterback. I'd love to add a passing game weapon, and they're all available basically. Mm-hmm. And I certainly think there's some help that they could acquire when it comes to their interior defensive line. But I think the Jets are in a unique position here. If the board falls this way at number 7, I really didn't think they'd be in the mix for one of the top quarterbacks. But with Shedeur Sanders on the board, we're going to welcome him to the AFC East as the Jets selection here. Of course, we have Justin Fields for the next 2 years, but for as exciting of an idea as that is, he's not really proven to be an answer at quarterback in the NFL. And so Shedeur Sanders gives us that opportunity to have a guy. And I think the way that this falls, this wasn't our intent, this wasn't our plan, but because he's here, we're going to go ahead and pick him.
Okay. Are you going to pick all 3 quarterbacks today? Plan?
Maybe.
I have a feeling you are.
Maybe so.
I have a feeling you are. Carolina's on the board at number 8 now. And this pick for me, this team spent crazy money on the defensive side of the ball, and rightfully so, based off what the depth chart looked like last year. They added Morig. They added Wharton and Bobby Brown to already having Derek Brown. They added Patrick Jones. They extended J.C. Horn. For me, this comes to what position on defense do I like the value at the best? And where can Ejiro Evero get the most run out of a piece?
Can I ask you a question before you kind of work through this defensive player? Do you give any consideration to a receiver?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
I don't disagree with you. I wondered if you did, though.
I don't think these are that kind of players at this spot.
Okay.
Relative to how big of a problem the defense was. So, Joe, they had a player leave not that long ago. Last year, as a matter of fact. Really intriguing player with a pretty diverse skill set. His name was
Frankie Luvu. Are you going to do it?
I think I'm going to do it.
Oh, fun.
Who do you think this means?
Jahad Campbell.
No.
Oh, Jalon Walker?
Jalen Walker.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Walker. I've heard some whispers they like. I think McShay also echoed this, that they like both of the Georgia pass rushers. So it's a question of what direction they could go there. And
it's kind of a scheme.
If I believe that, and Ejiro Evero and his creativity, they don't have a player like a Jalen Walker. And they got some run as a guy who could play off ball, but also could rush the passer, and a Frankie Luvu.
Yeah.
I think it's a good fit. So I'm going Jalen Walker to Carolina at number 8.
Yeah, I don't think every defense can maximize Jalen Walker, but I think structurally Carolina can. So I think that's a good marriage. I like it. I think I was listening to somebody that's renowned. Maybe it was Greg Cosell. He was saying that like he thinks that Jalen Walker might be like a top 2 pass rusher in the class. So
he's got a lot of fans in a lot of big places.
Yeah, he's going to go. And last time we did a mock, I think he went 32 to the Eagles. So
barely snuck him in.
Yeah.
But it's to your point, it becomes a little bit more challenging when there is more of a tailored fit that's required there, where you just look at some of these teams and you're like, I don't trust you to put him in the best positions to be successful. So I don't think you're going to covet him like that.
Yeah. Okay, I've got the New Orleans Saints here at number 9. And thinking of positions of need, it's O-line. I think they could use some O-line. We got like Dylan Radunz penciled in. Penning's a starter and also in a contract here. Do you really want to commit there? I think corners in play with Yadam, Isaac Yadam, kind of penciled in as one of the starters. But I think we got to go with the quarterback. I think that's their biggest need. I know obviously Derek Carr is in the building. I think that's a good thing that Derek Carr is in the building, because we're going to go with Jackson Dart out of Ole Miss and give Kellen Moore right away his guy to groom. And I think it's a benefit for Derek Carr to be there because there's a curve ahead for Jackson Dart to obviously run a really different style of offense than what he did at Ole Miss under Lane Kiffin. But the thing about Jackson Dart is he really does kind of check those boxes in terms of size, arm talent, movement skills, can kind of throw on the move a little bit, play a little off script. And I think a year with Derek Carr, while you kind of get this roster more stable, hopefully around the quarterback, it gives you a chance to kind of have that guy. So I think this is something we should be thinking about, and I won't criticize it. Do I love Jackson Dart? No, but I think for a team like New Orleans to take a swing, especially with some of the infrastructure in place, I can kind of get behind it.
Yeah, and I had with my mock last week for 33rd team, I had Shedeur going to New Orleans. So I think, and that was the take we had on Friday, right? Is outlook of Saints being did you grab it for the show, or did we just happen to get it and not take it?
I don't remember.
I recall seeing that one in the replies, and I was like, great minds think alike. I just gave him quarterback. Let's get Chicago in here, because this one's going to be easy relative to the way the board fell. This team invested in the offensive line. they want to get serious about a good supporting cast for Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. That offensive line blocking for Ashton Jeanty sounds like a mighty fine proposition to me. So you can be a little bit more on script with your offense in that regard, and not asking Caleb to do too much as he learns how to walk the line with what he's blessed with and what he's capable of doing. That offensive line has a lot of push with what they've added on the interior with Darnell Wright at right tackle, and the left tackle spot is kind of to be determined. But they have 2 picks at 39 and 41 at their disposal that they could go that way if they wanted to. So Ashton Jeanty here's going to be the pick for the Bears at number 10.
All right. We're going to get to 11 through 16 on the other side of it, including my pick for the Dolphins. Folks, be sure to stick with us.
Surely just go best guard available at 13.
Yeah, Tyler Booker. Well, sorry to spoil it, man.
I will shut this show down.
Well, we'll see if the show goes on or not. I have the 49ers here at number 11, and I don't want to do this for very selfish reasons, but I need to do this because when I watch the 49ers, I feel like their D-line's not good enough. And right now our starting defensive tackles are Jordan Elliott and Evan Anderson.
Yeah.
We can't go to war. We can't go to war with that. So we're going to give him a war daddy. And Kenneth Grant, you are a San Francisco 49er, which means you're not getting anywhere near pick 30. But I feel like this is the type of presence that they need in the middle of that defense. Like, think about what they got from Javon Hargrave, but could actually play the run.
Yeah.
I think this is the type of presence that they really need. So there's other ways that they can go, but I don't know that a singular player could help their team more than Kenneth Grant. I think about Will Campbell, of course. Our offensive lineman. I know Campbell's off the board, but I feel like this is the best thing that I could do to help the 49ers.
So that brings me to Dallas at 12. And Dallas at 12 has been a popular Will Campbell landing spot for me in mock drafts. Obviously, that's not happening because Will Campbell's off the board at 4. Trying to replace Zach Martin will be a tall order. So I look at this football team in Dallas, and I would not have minded, although I'm sure Dallas fans would have minded, another Michigan defensive tackle that's 340 pounds.
Oh,
they wouldn't have liked that one bit, but Joe took that temptation off the board. I have the entirety of the wide receiver matrix at my disposal if I wanted to.
Don't forget they have Jonathan Mingo. I mean, don't forget.
Yeah. They gave a pretty penny for Jonathan Mingo. CeeDee Lamb, Jonathan Mingo, and Jalen Tolbert with Turpin, Paris Kelvin Harmon, Seth Williams.
You sure you don't want to pick a receiver?
I'm not saying that I'm not. It's an unserious group after CeeDee there, right? Like,
right.
Pass rush. They brought back Dante Fowler, and they bring in Peyton Turner and Solomon Thomas, but Marshawn Nealon, big investment, but season-ending injury last year before it really started. Sam Williams, big injury, and going into a contract year. They have the potential contract standoff with Micah Parsons. I think there's some arguments to be made that pass rush is a way that you could go there. And then, even at linebacker, Overshown with the injury, Kenneth Murray and Jack Sanborn with Maris Lufau, got Jahad Campbell here on the board. They got a lot of good options if I'm Dallas. I didn't even mention corner either.
So you've been easier for you to say which position's not really in play.
It's a hard position to screw up, really.
Right. Get a good player for him.
So I think when it comes down to something like that, it's probably a little easier to use the depth of the positions as tiebreakers.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
Decently deep wide receiver class. Is a very deep defensive tackle class, is a very deep edge class. So that kind of puts me at corner, linebacker, or wide receiver. I'm going to do Jahad Campbell. I think that's the most rare fit of a player available with an area that Dallas has a definitive need. He can help in the pass rush with his versatility, and the fall off at linebacker happens real quick. Jahai Campbell to Dallas.
All right. I'm curious if you're a Cowboys fan and listening to this, fill up the YouTube comments and let us know, like, what are you thinking about with this pick? Because there are so many different ways that you can go. So what's the pulse of Dallas Cowboys fans? Would love to hear.
Yeah.
All right, here's the moment we've all been waiting for. I get to control the Miami Dolphins here at number 13. Wow, picking 13, Dan Marino's number.
It's going to be a great player.
It has to be. Well, what do you think about getting a Tyreek Hill replacement here in Matthew Golden? Huh? Was that?
If you could put the terms of a trade for Tyreek Hill in here, we could probably make it work.
So I think Miami's biggest questions right now are at corner and their interior defensive line. I think maybe one of the things that we got to think a little bit more about when it comes to their interior defensive line is they certainly need some help, but that edge group should kind of come in and
take some of that load.
Yeah, right. Like Chop in year 2, and now Chubb had his full year to get back. He's still around. Phillips got hurt pretty early in the season. You like to think that he's going to have a chance to help. And so I think there's going to be some day 2 options for Miami at defensive tackle that can solve their issues. And
they still have a standing offer with Calais Campbell as well.
So that exists. And I think that's like some of the differences of the defensive tackles that I might pick right now versus where they pick is a 46 or something. 48. Like, I think there's not that big of a difference. There's a big difference between the corners that I could be thinking about right now versus the second round. So we're going to go ahead and get a player that I know is going to be on the top 10 for both me and you. And that's going to be Jahdae Barron out of Texas. And I think the great thing about having Jahdae Barron to go with Jalen Ramsey and Kader Kohou is not only that Storm Duck / Cam Smith is not starting, but you have 3 extremely interchangeable guys for a defense with Coach Weaver that I think can maximize those players. And I think they, in their heart, they want to play some matchups. I think this gives them a great opportunity to do that. So Jahdae Barron, welcome to Miami.
It was interesting at his pro day. He said some teams have talked to me, think of an outside guy. Some teams have talked to me, think of an inside guy. And some teams have talked to me, think of a safety.
Sure.
Okay. Like when you could do all those things, you're going to have something for everybody, right? And that's one thing the Dolphins with their coverage matrix last year, they gave you the kitchen sink as far as presentation versus actual coverage.
Well, especially with the state of Miami safeties, right? Like, I feel like this helps a ton. And then you have between Ramsey and Barron, you have big time tackling impact as well from 2 of those guys. So
I like it. Top 5 player on my Dolphins specific board, Jahdae Barron. So you did well. Thanks. I will aspire to do the same for you tomorrow, though Kenneth Grant's off the board.
If it's already over. Yeah, you can't win. Kenneth Grant's gone. It's my fault.
The Colts at 14. Tyler Warren's on the board. We're going to make the Tyler Warren pairing happen. Potential for quarterback run game with Richardson if he wins the starting job with a very well-developed offensive line. The Jonathan Taylor element and what the middle of the field conflict you can create with all of those pieces can look like. I think Tyler Warren's the player the Colts have been trying to find for a couple of years now, and there's no sense. It's not broken for me, so I'm not going to fix it. Tyler Warren of the Colts.
I like it. It's interesting. I don't think we're often in a position where you have your choice of tight end, right? So that's kind of an interesting dynamic. I've got Atlanta here at 15, and I got to help their defensive front. Derek Harmon's a tantalizing player for me to consider right now, especially with a lot. They're really relying on a lot from Rook Orhorhoro based on the way that this depth chart stacks right now. But
on from Grady Jarrett.
But I'll apply similar logic to what I said about Miami, where I think there's going to be some day 2 defensive tackles that they can lean into. There's not going to be a talent like Shamar Stewart that they could draft right here out of Texas A&M. You know, they're kind of penciling in a guy like Morgan Fox to kind of be that 5-tech spot. And I think the versatility here is really, really intriguing to help find some impact for this front so this defense can take a big step and complement what's shaping up to be a pretty good offense. So we're going Shamar Stewart, D lineman out of Texas A&M.
Man, I know I'm we don't have a lot of Cardinals listeners, but those that we have are very passionate about the mock draft picks that we make.
So I'm glad you're picking for them.
I kind of screwed myself here because I feel like Jahad Campbell was like developing into my favorite Cardinals fit.
He's got to get there.
And I just picked him at Dallas 4 picks earlier. So, but Joe, we got Jalon Walker, Owen Popo, Akeem Davis, Gaither, and Mac Wilson as the stack all-ball linebackers for us. Like, put Jahad Campbell in that group, like,
yeah,
with what they've invested with Dalvin Tomlinson and Josh Sweat on the front, and then obviously the secondary behind it. This team has a lot of youth in the secondary. When you consider Max Melton was a 2nd-round pick, and Elijah Jones was a 3rd-round pick, and Garrett Wilson was a 3rd-round pick in 23, and Taylor Demerson at safety was a 4th-round pick in 20. There's a lot of talent that we generally like a lot of. But Will Johnson being on the board here at 16 is probably too good of a value for me to pass up to kind of do the same thing that I did with the Browns at 2 and make a strength, like a real strength and asset, and what that means for probably Sean Murphy Bunting versus maybe, the Elijah Joneses of the world. And there's a lot of competition for playing time, but this is a team that runs on the secondary, and they've now added the reinforcements to the front. I don't see a value I really like at off-ball linebacker, so best player available being Will Johnson, who can kind of fit into that ideology and that DNA of what that defense is too good for me to pass up here at number 16.
I think we had some fun new ideas so far in this mock, and that's what I like about it. The whole point is it's a thought exercise. We're presenting scenarios. Needs are kind of shaping up. And I like that you didn't hear the same mock you've probably read or listened to a bunch of times by now.
So I did a mock last night. 12 hours ago, I did a mock draft.
Yeah.
And it was dramatically different than the first 16 picks that we just had here. So some of that's because we had 2 people making picks, but then also like I had Will Campbell going outside I think 10 to Chicago was what I had on the 33rd team mock. And I just picked him 4, right? And you throw one stone like that.
Yeah.
And the spider web of differences that can happen as a result is what's really fun about this thought exercise.
Browns and Giants not going quarterback as well changed a lot of this landscape.
That's going to do it for us here today. Pick 17 through 32 coming your way tomorrow. You have that to look forward to here on Locked On NFL Scouting and Kyle Crabbs. He's Joe Marino. We appreciate you guys as always for checking out the show. Make it a great rest of your Monday right here